Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore and thank you so much for joining me today. So guys, let's talk about Jupiter trining Pluto or Pluto trining Jupiter, however you want to look at this. But the moment Jupiter ingresses into Gemini, and depending on when you're watching this video, it might already be doing that, there's going to be a massive trine here, a massive moment for deep transpersonal initiation and something that will hit us in the face like a 2x4. And this could be stuff that you're already feeling, but depending on where Gemini and Aquarius is in your birth chart will tell the story precisely in your life where this could be going on, or most definitely going on. And then on a collective level, of course, there's a whole different way of delineating astrology, in my opinion, because anytime we talk here, right, you need to know where this stuff is going on in the house topics of your life, because that's where these themes are. But on a collective stage, it's a little bit more, wider, a little bit more holographic, which also affects us, by the way. So that's why it's important to kind of understand both. Now, I've already made about 3 videos on Jupiter and Gemini, and I won't talk, much more about this, but it is very significant. And depending on what videos and talks that I make from here on forth, if it's involving Gemini in any way, and if it's involving anything massive that occurs, then of course we'll discuss it. And I do feel that Gemini is going to be such a force for the month of June. And it already is at the moment I'm recording this. The sun has been in Gemini for, a week now almost. And Venus just ingressed in the last 24 hours, as of me recording this video, May 24th. And then in 2 days' time from now, Jupiter will officially be in Gemini. But again, if you're watching this at a later date, then all of this is kind of already happening. Now, Pluto is retrograde at 1 degree. And in my opinion, when Pluto is retrograde, like any of the outer planets, it does weaken its effect a little bit. It kind of puts a little bit of a pause button on what the intention of, the planet's transit will represent. And slow-moving planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto kind of start very small and then grow exponentially as the transit grows over the years and the decade plus. Pluto's transit through Capricorn and Aquarius we're close to 20 years. Maybe Capricorn was a little bit shorter, but Pluto's transit will be about 20 years almost in Aquarius, and we're retrograding back right now. We'll go back to 29 degrees Capricorn, which, if you don't know much about American history, Pluto, the United States of America had a Pluto return last year. I think Pluto's degree for America is either 27, 28 degrees or 29 degrees, one of those 3. So Pluto's retrograding back to pretty much where the United States Pluto is. And we have one of the biggest elections in modern history, at least in the 21st century so far. But some would argue, honestly, in the grand scheme of American history, But that's extremely significant. Not so much for the Jupiter, this Jupiter moment, because by the time Pluto gets back into Aquarius, Jupiter will be, kind of midway-ish through Gemini already. But Pluto will be trining Gemini by sign, which still influences whatever planet's there. So Pluto will be influencing Jupiter, while Jupiter is in Gemini, generally speaking, whether the trine is making a hard aspect or not. But for this entire month, Pluto will be strongly trining Jupiter with Venus, Mercury, and the Sun. And then about midway-ish towards June, leading into the end of June, we, of course, will have Venus, Mercury, and the Sun get into Cancer. So the good thing about this trine, and I'm going to throw some, 2 charts up on the screen. Actually, one I'll put up right now. This chart that you're seeing right now is the initial May 26 ingress of Jupiter into Gemini. And you can already see how Pluto is trining immediately. And we have, let me get my phone here, Venus at 3 degrees, the Sun at 5 degrees. Okay. And Mercury is nowhere near Gemini yet. It has another 15 degrees to go, which will move very fast to get there. And I won't focus on any of the other astrological weather during this talk today, because of course we have Mars approaching Chiron, which I'll make a video. I might actually make a video after this one on that, just a short kind of, or maybe, I don't know about short, but I'll be making another video later today on, Mars and Chiron. But as soon as Jupiter gets into Gemini, the trine from Pluto is immediate, it is strong, it is deep. But it's a trine still, which means we have 2 airs. The air element, Aquarius and Gemini, will be, hitting each other pretty, intensely. The issue with this is, though, in my opinion, is that air is unpredictable. And we're dealing with Aquarius, which is all about, rebellion. It's about change. It's about uprise. It's about doing things a different way. It's about innovation. And that goes for collective and inner. So you have to understand, and I'm not going to bring up Aries and the stuff we've been through in the last couple of months really today, but I'll mention it in the next video I do on Chiron and Mars, because the solar eclipse and the retrograde of Mercury during that time, there is a massive quest for identity and understanding identity and what kind of world do we want to live in which requires a new identification to the way we have a relationship to the world and our relationship to the world. So there's a lot of us that have been going through a lot of awakenings and a lot of, transformation, whether we wanted that or not, in the realm of self. I think all countries to a degree right now are trying to understand what they represent, and I'm not going to bring up immigration or anything, but America, one part of the country politically and whatever the case may be, and maybe everyone in the country to a certain degree, are starting to question with a lot of the immigration, right? What is the identity of America? Is America really going to transform into really a new identity of such mixed culture? Or, people on the right wing, I guess you can say, are really, really unsettled by, that America is changing, because of immigration. And it's just an example. It's like, think about if an influx of people just decided to move into a place that's always been known for one thing, generally speaking, and then all of a sudden, like, there's just a massive shift of immigration, of change, of identity. What is America when we have so many new people from all over the world just flooding in, right? And yes, we can have the debate that America, for example, or most countries, have had, there's so much diversity now. But with so much diversity, the initial birth of a country has to start under questioning or, accepting that the original identity of that country is changing. So Chiron and Aries, to a degree, and look at me, I'm already going on a tangent with Chiron and Aries, and even Mars, this fight for what does this country mean? Like, what are we? What's the future hold? And on an individual level, in that part of your birth chart, there's a massive story playing out there as well. So we have to understand, though, in relation to that, Pluto trining Jupiter will also be playing into that game, into that story, because this is part of the holographic holism of the astrology happening. part of the shamanic worldview of what's going on in the astrology. So when we have this immediate trine, yes, whatever's going on in your life in Gemini and Aquarius will be affected. This will cause a expansion of consciousness, an expansion of awareness. This will bring profound spiritual and psychological insight or upheaval, So the good thing, getting back to what I initially said about 3 minutes ago, the good thing with this trine is that, yes, we're dealing with the same air elements. So we're dealing with quick moving ideas, quick moving insights, quick moving action and the way we communicate and stuff, but that also can have a shadow side where people are talking and communicating, way too quickly and not from a place of, meaningful intuition, but rather from, mental, just, I need to just say this out loud without thinking, because Gemini could just say things without thinking. But what's saving this right now for June is we have Venus and the Sun, and then Jupiter's going to add depth. But that depth can also bring things that are not desirable. We could learn something or be taught something or, come to some sort of psychic intuitive knowing. And that will just mentally take over. But that mental stimulation and that mental takeover can provide for a lot of rapid movement and change in one's life, in one's ideas and ideologies, and, depending on what's really happening in your story. But you have two massive planets of spiritual and shamanic influence, in my opinion. Pluto is more of the philosopher, the guru, the teacher. Pluto is the shaman, in my opinion. Pluto is the slow burn of transformation that, during some shamanic healings, it takes time for the healing to integrate. Like I've, known a lot of shamans, not shamanic practitioners from the West, so to speak, like real deal, like Peruvian, like I talked about in my recent Shamanic Heart video. Which they say, the initial healing is just sort of like extracting what doesn't need to be there and planting the new seeds of light, so to speak. But it takes time and effort from the individual to transform from that point forward. But the seeds of light are already planted. So it's really up to the individual to move on and move forward in the transformational process. So Pluto can do that. So Pluto's trine to Jupiter, whatever the Jupiter story is, Pluto's trine is going to, plant those seeds of light that will potentially show up very dominantly, because we're dealing with so much air and we're dealing with so much Gemini energy now. And Venus's influence, I think, will make this a beautiful thing. Like, I think whatever these revelations and these things that occur, Venus is going to, kind of give you the insight or show you in a physical sense that there is something beautiful about, expansion. And I said a lot of you might meet a lot, there could be a lot of love involved. In my June forecast that I recorded the other day, I discussed how love can definitely be in the air. The communication of things that are loving, the hope and optimism to try to communicate ideas and perspectives that could bring more harmony is possible. There could be a lot of life-changing relationships that could be formed from this trine and just from what's going on in Gemini with Venus. And then Mercury will enter and kind of just make everything more, active mentally and on a communication level. So the trine is really important, and only you at the moment know what this can potentially mean. Or, feel free to, connect with me and book a reading, and we could talk about your life, and, I could dive deeper with you, of course. But This is a trine that's not going to mess around. And it very well may set up themes that occur for 12 months. Because once Pluto gets back into Aquarius, I think around late November, December, Jupiter will still be in Gemini, and Pluto's influence on Gemini will be reactivated. And Jupiter will still be there feeling that, even though there's not a hard aspect, to Jupiter at that time, because Jupiter will be at like 15 or 16 degrees or something. But this initial ingress, this initial moment, we're going to feel something deep within. We're going to meet someone that we know could potentially change our life. We're going to come across a book, a philosophy of spirituality, a new way of looking at the world, or another culture. And we're going to just immediately kind of feel this shamanic, like, oh my God, like a third eye opening, like a mind just blowing itself wide open. Just those moments in life where you just sort of, where time feels like it's stopping, and it's like almost like things are clear, but still you need to figure out how this transformation is actually going to play out. Some of you might actually be shocked, and this transformation might just be very, very in your face. And that's just how it's going to play out. Like, I can tell you right now, I mean, if you watched my recent video on me discussing more of bringing, traditional evolutionary and shamanic astrology to the channel, and really being more open and fluid with my spiritual practice and how I do astrological, work, and being very open now with kind of this part of, my, just my work and how I'm going to present, myself to you guys even. This revelation and these dreams I had, and after, I don't know if you watched that video yesterday, but I saw 2 foxes after I recorded that video, after I was discussing foxes in my video, and then being very connected to me. So that even just confirmed further that everything I discussed in that video was 100% true, and that everything that I move forth with in my work with the channel here in regards to my shamanic background and my shamanic influence on my work, that was even more of a confirmation. So I could already see my Pluto trine to Jupiter is already playing out in this very deep way, where I'm literally, bringing something so deep that means so much to me, that's such a transformative power. Now that I'm embracing that 100%, and not feeling insecure about it. That's part of my story. That's a great example from my own life of what the Jupiter and Pluto trine will be doing for me. And in dealing with communication, now I'm articulating this stuff to you. I'm articulating this stuff to my clients that I've had for a while, just generally speaking. And a lot of my work going into my classes coming up, in my course that I'll be releasing in a few months from now, the shamanic influence is going to be dominant. My expertise in traditional astrology, evolutionary astrology, merged with my background in shamanism, is going to be my life fully. And this transit, which I wasn't expecting to do, honestly, like if you asked me a week or two ago, was this something you were going to, manifest in your work? No, the answer would have been no. No. But again, the dreams, the signs from nature, seeing the foxes, which I don't see often, but when I do, they're powerful. That's what this is meaning to me, So that's all I really want to say today, guys, because honestly, I could sit here and just sort of muse and discuss and talk, about so many different things. But, Jupiter and Pluto are very spiritual, shamanic, transformative teachers. They make things very big. They bring us such powerful insights. They, can take our relationships. They can take things we're already involved in and really expand them and bring new information to them, to your life. We're dealing with air, so we are dealing with communication. We're dealing with, the way we communicate with each other. We're dealing with the way the divine communicates with us. We're dealing with how our relationships can expand or implode and blow up, because that's also a potential. You could shake your life to the core, but only to give you some kind of, hope and optimism that something will transform and change. And I think whatever this is very positive. Like in my little story, in my case, that I just described with you, in this experience happening in my life, Venus is there and the sun is there, and it making me feel almost reborn, like almost just full of love and just full of, optimism for where this channel can lead and where my new approach to my work can lead, even though my approach has always been the same, but just being more vocal about it. Not being afraid to talk about shamanic astrological magic with you guys, which is also a part of evolutionary astrology and traditional astrology, which is my foundation of deep, technique in astrology. But the Venus aspect of this and the sun aspect of this, and I'm assuming when Mercury enters Gemini, I can only imagine the fluidity in my voice and my communication skills and, just the confidence I might gain from all of this. And how transformative this will be on a level for me. Like, I'm expecting my psychic ability and my intuition to blow open over the next 12 months, I think, because Gemini's in my 8th house, guys. A very shamanic and psycho-spiritual place. And I'm anticipating now with this new, realm that I'm, embarking on and being so open with. And the air energy is just completely going to, again, I have to be careful. I have to make sure things aren't going too crazy with the air energy. And my moon is in Gemini as well. So this is all so transformative for me. But Venus is allowing this to be such a beautiful moment for me. It's such a heart-opening moment. So I think we all need to keep that stuff into consideration and understand how is that playing out in your life, in the house topics Aquarius and Gemini are in. But again, on the world stage, we could have a good month. Maybe a lot of things turn around in some good ways with some conflict and war in the world, or things that are, horrible. Again, there's a lot of bad things going on in the world, and that doesn't negate the beauty of astrology during good transits. It just means that the karma of a certain place is just not, there to believe. The karma is the problem. But on an individual level, I bet you a lot of these individuals, even in the worst situations in their life, they could have these transits activate in them and provide them a beautiful moment or some beautiful optimism and hope within one's life. But I'm not going to get into that. So yeah, guys, I do hope that this video resonated today. I hope it made sense for you. Please let me know what you think, of course. And yeah, I'll see you all very soon. Much love.